Hi, here we go. So we're going to look at a full game on Zavod with the AA tank and how to win the game for your team with the most powerful vehicle. Probably second only to the attack helicopter. The main strategy here is the Zavod's a quite a linear map I should say. There's really only 3 avenues you can go down. You can go through the middle or either of the side avenues. That makes it really easy to control the map, especially if you have a versatile vehicle like the anti-aircraft tank. Just at the start there you saw me shoot a Zuni rocket. I'm doing that to get extra pocket ammunition. Basically it starts the loading sequence for the next 8 rockets. So it gives me 15 spare rockets instead of just 8. So there's something to keep in mind if you want extra ammo when you're going in for your engagements. On the AA tank here I'm running the 30mm cannon. And I'm using the air radar, not the autoloader. The autoloader does extend the amount of time that you can shoot for considerably, almost doubles it with the main cannon, but I prefer the extra information that the air radar gives me. It's not that important on this map, but for the strategy I'm employing, where I basically hold the helicopters back and the quad bikes and everything so they can't sneak around the back of the map, it's a very powerful way to enable that type of gameplay, because I actually have 2 maps. I have the air radar, and if I press M, I have the normal map, the big map, which is very helpful for keeping track of all the ground assets and the air assets. So here I'm you'll see me sitting outside of C&D a lot, typically behind it. I won't go inside C&D very often. The reason for that is you can become surrounded quite quickly by infantry. They come out of everywhere. There's little spots in the floor they can come out of. They can attack you from the scaffolding around you, the rooftops above you. It's a great way to get killed very quickly, especially without reactive armor. Quite a lot of missiles will do mobility damage to my tank here. So if I get hit in the side by an RPG, for instance, I'll be completely immobilized for about 4 or 5 seconds, which is a massive problem because it means I can't run away from danger. I just have to sit there and hope I don't get killed, which is it's a bad strategy, so I prefer to use positioning and information to avoid that situation altogether by keeping my distance. I'm going to help the team out by just holding this area. So we have the majority of flags now, C, D, E, and F. If we can hold those 4 flags for the entire game, we will win. There's no question about it. The flags drain the tickets a lot faster than any killing machine does, so it's a lot more valuable to work on the flags than it is to work on the kills. The reason I'm pushing hard into D there was I had a lot of friendly infantry around me, and I didn't want to lose the flag, but the enemy infantry swarmed, and I decided to back out of that situation for the sake of not being completely overwhelmed and taken out of the game. Here I'm fighting against the tank. This is actually not a direct confrontation, so that tank's taking fire from the helicopter. He's dealing with infantry as well. He's not really prioritizing me very much because I'm not doing a lot of damage to him with my 30mm cannon. Also you can see me just moving around a bit here, mainly to keep a line of sight on him so I can keep doing damage, but also moving to use cover with those trains, because if I get hit by him, it's going to do a considerable amount of damage and likely do mobility damage as well. So right there I just took a big hit to the side and that fully immobilized me. I popped my APS to block any further damage and I looked to the left of the tank before pressing E to get out. What that does is it lets me get out on that side of the tank so that I don't accidentally get out in front of the tank that just shot at me and then get hit in the head with a tank shell. It's a good tip for any vehicle really. If you look to one side of the vehicle and exit, that's the side that you'll exit to. It's very useful for positioning yourself when you're repairing. So just here, there's quite a lot of infantry on D. They're starting to ping rockets at me. My APS is down because I blocked a rocket earlier, so I'm going to hold a little bit more distance. Just really want to stay away from all those sneaky little spots that they can attack me from, and wait for the infantry to support me as I hold this area. I don't want to take on all those soldiers on my own. The 30mm cannon is powerful, and so are the Zunis, but it's not enough to kill everybody. The time to kill with the Zunis and the 30 mil is just not quick enough to kill everybody when you're surrounded. So I'm just going to sit back here, you know, mess with the infantry a bit, put some Zunis on them as well. You can see quite a lot of them manage to run past without getting killed. That's mostly due to me not hitting every shot, but the 30 mil cannon it's powerful, but you can see there it did take a little while to kill them. So a good tip I learned from an excellent heli pilot was, and this applies to any vehicle, any gun, is get your crosshair on the target first, and then start shooting, because it gives them no warning, and they're already starting to take damage while they're being hit. You know, as soon as you start shooting. So it's a good way to deal with the infantry. You know, get your aim right and then start shooting. Just trying to take out those mines up there because I don't want any vehicles on my team that charge up ahead to get hit by those mines and killed. Gonna put some pressure on the helis as well. This transport heli can be a big problem. I don't want them sneaking around the back of the map and capturing F, because that not only wastes my time having to go back and cap F, but it can shift the balance of the game considerably if they start spawning behind us and pincer us at C and D. I noticed there's 25 mil cannon shots coming over from the left, the north side of the map there. I presume that's probably an LAV. Not sure if it's friendly or enemy, so I'm just going to keep the front of my tank pointed towards that area. So I identify it as an enemy, and here I'm showing a little bit of my broadside of the tank, my tank, but it's not too much to worry about because his line of sight is obscured by the rough terrain. You can't really get a good shot on me. But you'll see that typically whenever I'm facing off against a tank, I'll try to keep the thinnest part of my profile facing them. So the front of the tank is the skinniest part. It's considerably less wide than the side of my tank. So it means the enemy tanks have far less to shoot at, and it makes me harder to hit. So I see the infantry's moved up here. They're pushing hard up to B, so I'm going to push with them. I want to stay on the 6, you know, help back them up, but I see D's getting capped, and for me that's more of a priority. Capping D or keeping it capped is far more crucial than, you know, taking more flags like B and A. I don't want to overextend the team too much here. It's better if we have a very large combined force around the C-B region, as opposed to spreading out our team across all 7 flags. I see there's quite a large concentration of armor starting to congregate out of their main road heading towards C. So, and also the enemy's starting to cap E, so I'm just going to back up, deal with the enemy at E, and just let those tanks disperse. The AA tank is, you know, it's fast, it's powerful, but it's really, on average, it'll lose in a direct confrontation with armor. It's not worth taking the fight. So positioning, information, that's really how you survive those situations, is by not getting into them in the first place. So just took out that helicopter there, preventing him from sneaking around the back of the map. Friendly tank here is protecting me from the enemy tank, so I'm not too worried. He can eat some damage for me, and he can put some damage on them. There's some infantry on the rooftop at D. They can be a big issue because they typically like to get their MBT laws, which are auto lock on rockets, and just blind fire them at you and then hide behind cover again. That's a problem because those MBT laws reload very quickly. Sometimes if you're not very, very fast with your APS, they can get through your APS, which is pretty aggravating. And if there's like 2 or 3 of them shooting MBT laws at you, they can kill you very quickly. Because like I said, they auto lock on, they don't really have to aim. It just targets you straight away. So right there, that soldier, because I'm so close to the roof, he did have to expose a lot more of his profile, but my gun was on cooldown, so I was unable to kill him. But they just sit up there and shoot rockets, they hip fire rockets at you and then hide again. It's a very powerful strategy for dealing with tanks. So here I see a big mass of our troops moving up the hill. I know there's still guys on D, and there is a tank off to the right side of the map. I want to help the infantry, but I also want to stop these little leaks, like this quad bike who's making a break for it. The occupant of the quad bike is dispatched, but I might as well grab a few extra points there on the unoccupied vehicle. Enemy transport helicopters making a move. Some better pilots will sit off the radar, and they'll go very close to the ground around the edge of the map. That's definitely a much more sophisticated way to backcap. This pilot is staying high in the sky, which puts him on my radar and makes him an easy kill. You might have noticed there I was driving, but when it came to strafing or shooting that helicopter consistently, I actually stopped moving. The reason you stop moving is when you're driving around, if you're going on uneven terrain, your tank is bumping up and down and left and right, and it punches your aim around quite a lot. It can be difficult to compensate for. So it's a lot better to sit still on flat terrain where you're not sliding down a hill. If you're looking to get those consistent tracking type of sprays. Here the AA is distracted, and he probably can't do much damage to me anyway, so I put some damage on him. But there is a main battle tank right next to him, and he retaliates, puts a bit of damage on me, and without the reactive armor I do take the mobility hit. But it's not a big issue because I'm positioned well, I'm surrounded by friendly infantry, there's no enemies behind me, and that tank doesn't push the advantage because there's a lot of our troops in the area. I don't think he wants to try and take on that many infantry and an AA tank. Right here is a pretty dangerous position to be in. We're starting to lose C flags, so the enemies are likely under C. I got a hit marker there, so they can come up like whack-a-mole up through those little holes in the ground. So I'm shooting Zunis to try and suppress them a bit, put some damage on. As soon as they cap C, that's when they can start spawning in the C containers behind me and the woods off to the right of C to the south. That's really dangerous for me because I don't want some recon spawning in right behind me and putting C4 on me, or you know, a team of engineers all pulling out their MBT laws and shooting at me all at the same time. I much prefer to keep my distance, and this helicopter gave me a great excuse to do that. He's flying all the way to our deployment. Does get killed by the base AA, but it gives me a reason to reposition, which is good. So a great way to strategize in this game is to cause the enemy to swarm an area and then back off and attack an area that they are no longer protecting. So right now our team managed to cap B because so much enemy concentration exists on C, and now they're starting to come back for C, but the enemy is vehemently defending. So you can see that stream of infantry just coming out of those C containers there, just pouring onto the flag. That's what you don't want. You don't want to be stuck with those infantry pouring onto you. Like right here, I'm not moving, infantry are spawning next to me, and I'm going to pay the price in just a second with a few rockets. So because I took that damage, I'm going to reposition. The reason I did stick around there is the infantry were struggling to deal with those guys that were up on the catwalk and scaffolding. So I thought I'd use my versatile turret that can shoot up to help deal with that issue. The infantry on my team has captured the objective now, which is great. We're starting to lose E though, and I do take a rocket from that direction, so I'm going to return fire. But I'm not going to fully commit to the engagement because I've taken 3 rockets now and I didn't regenerate much health in between. So my HP was pretty low. Basically, when you're at about 45 HP, if you take an RPG in a critical area, you can be completely destroyed, or worse, well, I guess not worse, but you can be disabled, which is where you can't move, you're on fire, you're totally vulnerable, and at some point your tank will blow up, so you do have to kill whoever just shot at you, get out, repair, and manage to get to safety, which can be pretty difficult. And that's why the air radar and, you know, keeping track of the helicopters and all the parachuters coming out of it, looking at your big map every so often, that's really important for maintaining that information advantage. That's really how you win these types of games, is the information advantage. This is a powerful vehicle, but it is weak. It can be destroyed quite quickly if there's a coordinated strike against it, or if it's out of position. You'll see pretty much the entire game, I'm always behind my infantry, I'm never in front of them. I'm letting them kind of act as sensors, finding mines, finding enemy infantry, finding tanks for me, and then I can position accordingly to help them deal with those threats one at a time. I don't want to be dealing with, you know, 5 or 6 infantry, a tank on my left and an LAV on the right. That's a terrible situation you don't want to be in. You can't guard all 3 angles at once. So that's why I'm sitting where I am here. I can see the tank to my left, I have building cover to my right, so I'm just going to keep putting pressure on the infantry on the hill, give my guys on my side a chance to move up a little bit, and use my APS to block that MBT law there. I'm going to reposition as well, just to prevent that MBT law from spamming me. I want to make him miss and waste his rockets if possible. That tank is still sitting off to the left. Get a little bit of an angle on him. Just going to put a tiny bit of damage on him, not too much, because I don't really have an angle, but he's gone down there, which is good. We're starting to lose F, but I'm going to deal with this helicopter first. I don't want it getting too close to our other flags, especially D and C rooftop. I don't want to have to deal with, you know, a team of engineers spamming MBT laws at me for the rest of the game. So now I'm going to charge back to F. Having a look on the map there to figure out where the enemies are, where the friendlies are. We have a helicopter on the scene and infantry, which is great news for me. F is probably the hardest flag to capture alone if you're in a tank, particularly the main battle tank, because you can't look up very high. Enemies like to hide in the radar tower up there, so every time you leave, they jump out and they steal the flag again. Here I'm looking around on my thermal cams. I spot 2 guys in here, so I'm going to put some Zuni rockets down for splash damage. Just going to suppress him so he can't move, keep him pinned down in that corner, and blow him up with the Zunis. This is not a good situation for the tank. I'm starting to get a little bit cocky here. I see he's got an RPG, and I'm facing him with my broadside, and I'm very close, which means he can maneuver quickly around cover, shoot me and hide again, and I can't do anything about it. You'll see this come to a head in just a moment when multiple guys start spawning on that one guy that was still left. I take a hit there, mobility hit. I can't really see where this other guy went. I'm trying to watch 2 angles at the same time. They're too close to me for me to do anything about them. Really starting to stack on the damage now, so I'm going to leave the area and let the infantry and the helicopter do the rest of the work. I see there's another transport helicopter coming and try to do some damage to him, but I can't maintain that lock forever, so I'm going to get out repair. Not to full health, just enough to eat 1 or 2 RPGs, so I can survive long enough to shoot back at least when I get into a fight. And I'm just going to head back to the battle here. I make the mistake of taking the off-road path there, so it's bumpy and it's glitchy. Right here, I get myself stuck. I can't move, and I'm going to ask the team for help. So this is unfortunate because I can't hold the line at C and D anymore. I can't keep that pressure on, you know, I can't support the infantry as well anymore because I'm stuck in this low valley. I don't have a great line of sight on the front line at B, and I can't see F either, so I'm just going to be stuck here for a while, spinning my wheels quite literally. And I guess now is a good time to discuss the other setups for the AA. So if you're looking just to farm up kills and you're not too worried about, you know, maintaining the air radar superiority, you know, information advantage and whatever, the autoloader is really powerful for extending the amount of time you can spray with your main cannon. It's nearly double the time you can spray for. It's really quite powerful to use. Also, I believe it does speed up your Zuni reload time, which is good. So yeah, really good for a high yield game if you want to go for lots and lots of kills. If you're looking to be a bit sneakier on the map, going with the thermal camo can actually be quite powerful. It's for a couple of reasons. It takes longer for enemies to lock onto you with PLDs, laser guided missiles, javelins, everything like that. Also, it helps unspot you really quickly. If you become spotted and nobody respots you, you actually unspot very quickly if you use the thermal camo. So normally things are spotted for quite a few seconds, I think like 5 or 6 seconds. With the thermal camo, it's considerably shorter. So that's, and especially on a map like Zavod, there's a lot of tree foliage in the way. It's hard to see things clearly. Enemy tanks will be using thermal optics the same way I am here to spot their targets. If you have thermal camo, you appear very grey on their side, so it's very hard for them to make out your position. It gives you an element of surprise. If you're looking to sneak up on people, that's the way to do it. With the reactive armor, that's quite good for helping reduce the mobility hits, the frequency of the mobility hits. The AA, or any LAV really, but the AA in particular has a lot of weak points, so you can be immobilized and mobility hit from virtually any angle on the LAV, which isn't great. So, you know, this map, there's lots of enemies with RPGs, there's tanks, and I don't have reactive armor. I'm using the air radar. I'm going to play passive most of the time. So That's why I was holding behind C and D. I'd never get on the flag if I could avoid it unless I had a lot of infantry helping me. Just, you know, being cautious to avoid situations where I'm going to become immobilized. So right there, the teammate saves the day, gives me a ram. One more should do the trick. And we can get back into the action. So now we're heading back into the battlefield. We've lost D flag, which isn't good, so I'm going to sit back a little bit. I'm not going to get too close because just like on C flag, they can spawn on the side hill like up there. They can also spawn on the train tracks. They can spawn all over the place and surround me very quickly. So you can see right now that the angle that I have to watch is about 45 degrees of my total field of view. I have to watch the rooftop, I have to watch D flag, and I have to watch the side hill. By moving further back, all the way back here, I condense those angles together, make them a lot thinner. So because I'm in a valley, I don't have to worry about the guys on the hill. They're not going to be able to see me. The guys at D flag won't be able to see me because I'm behind a train. So I'm basically only fighting the helicopter and the guys on the roof, which is good for me. It gives me a chance to deal with these MBT lore spammers. So I'm going to try and get some cheeky splash damage with the Zuni, hopefully. I take out one of the MBT lore guys up there, so this is a good time to move. Their firepower is reduced. I'm suppressing them by shooting over their heads. So I'm going to get back to even terrain. I've learned my lesson from the off-roading adventure earlier. I'm going to drive back through the main road, and I'm going to try and get as close as I can to the rooftop to force them to expose themselves quite a lot when they shoot down on me. They're going to have to look over the edge of the roof to get an angle on me, which means they're going to be showing me a big section of their profile. So I take one more hit from the roof there, but just like you saw with that guy, I could see pretty much from halfway up his thighs all the way to his head. That's a lot of real estate for me to shoot at. So I'm going to look to do something similar when they pop up. C flag is still captured, which isn't good, so that means infantry can spawn over there. Just going to be a bit precautious here. I'm facing towards C, ready to reverse away from it, and also making myself a little bit thinner of a target from that angle. I can see there's a lot of infantry on the rooftop above me, and I'm pretty close to the roof. I'm starting to get a little bit wary of that, so also take a rocket from the rear. I'm just going to reposition, take out that guy, and help out at D a little bit more. I can see the tanks coming. I'm going to try and get some cheeky damage on, but unfortunately I take a mobility hit. So I get out to repair, and this is the worst nightmare you can have, is being shot in the back of the head while you're repairing on the AA tank. It means there's nobody there to protect your AA. Your AA is sitting there vacant, anyone can take it. A great way to avoid that situation, fortunately for me, my squad mate was there repairing, so he saved the day again. Definitely appreciate that. But a great way to avoid that is to essentially teabag, so move left and right rapidly while crouching up and down when you're repairing. It makes you very hard to hit, and it prevents situations like that. So now, since we're nearing the end of the game, the ticket discrepancy is enormous because we've been holding the majority of the flags the whole time. I'm looking to play more aggressively here. I want to start racking up a few more kills. I don't really care if I die because I've already died and lost my kill streak, so it's time to just go for blood. You'll find, even though the AA tank isn't that great at taking on a direct confrontation with enemy armor, it's very scary to have an AA tank charging at you, spraying you down with the machine gun and starting to throw Zuni rockets at you, because it means either the AA tank knows something you don't, and it knows it's going to be able to kill you, or it's crazy and doesn't care if it dies. Both of those are a really big threat if you're in the main battle tank or the LAB, and you see an AA charging at you. So most players will respond by acting passively, which means they're going to start retreating. They're going to look for distance on you, you know, try and get away from you. That's a great way to help your team. If you're not terribly worried about survival and you just want to put pressure on, you know, get those tanks away from the flags, that's a good way to do it. Just push them, physically run at them, charge them. So right there, reactive armor might have helped. I took a sprawl to the front, and I'm immobilized, which has left me in a vulnerable position here. There's guys on the rooftop at D, there's guys on the ground. They can spawn behind me and to my left. So I'm going to reposition here, get away from them. Take out that helicopter. Taking quite a few hits here, so I'm going to get a bit more distance. Going to quickly pull in at E, get some cheeky repairs. There's not much time left in the game, so I'm not going to repair very much. Just enough to eat one extra RPG. And I'm going to go back in, see what I can do. So that tank right there, if he had thermal camo, he would have unspotted already, and I wouldn't be able to see him for as long. So that's something to keep in mind on Zavod in particular. Alright, so we discussed how to support your team, you know, how to use the information advantage to the maximum potential, and the positioning and timing, you know, the play styles. Thanks for watching.